everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about my journey to become a licensed hairdresser here in Korea and kind of the steps that I went through and all of the tips and tricks that I learned along the way, especially as someone who is not a Korean citizen. So yeah, to find out all about that, keep on watching. So the very first thing that I did to become a licensed hairdresser was to find a hair academy, like a hairdresser academy. So after I found a hair school to attend, I realized that I needed to take the written exam first in order to proceed to take the practical exam. The written exam in Korea is called the 필기시험, which is just done on like computers, kind of like, you know, multiple choice questions, but it encompasses a lot of different topics. Obviously, the whole test is in Korean. All of those terms are in Korean. And at that time, my Korean, I would say, is not as good as it is now because I think from that exam too, and just, you know, since then, my Korean has gotten a bunch better. But yeah, it was tough. I feel like for most Koreans who go through this process, the written exam is probably the easiest part for them. But for me, it was almost like the hardest part because a lot of these words were just super technical, and especially like the public health and the law section, I was like, what are these words? Basically, every word I didn't understand, I had to translate it. So let me show you the book that I used, and this is, I think, the standard book. It just goes through like new editions every so often to kind of update it with the current year. But this is the 미용사 일반 필기시험 book, and inside here you can see like there's all of these, you know, information about each part, and also they have a bunch of practice questions as well to kind of help you practice. And then at the very end, there's like full-on practice exams. So if you can just take a tiny little look at what I had to do for this written exam, you can see that I translated a lot of these things and I highlighted them as well. It took me about, I would say, 2 months total to kind of learn and memorize everything, and I think it paid off because I passed the exam in just one try. I think it's definitely doable for people who are not even fluent in Korean to pass the written exam. Another thing though is that even though I'm a foreigner in Korea, I am a Korean American, so that kind of also helped with my written exam, I would say, just because my Korean was already at a level to where I could kind of get by through studying. So after I passed the written exam, I had to do the practical exam, which is the 실기시험. The whole exam itself takes about 4 hours, and there's a bunch of sections that you have to prepare for. So in total, there is a cut section, a dry section, shampoo and scaling section, a perm winding section, and also a color or dyeing section as well. For this, of course, I had to learn these techniques and practice a lot, and I learned the techniques from the hair school that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So it just took a long time for me to kind of get everything within the time limit, because for a lot of these sections you only have about 20 to 30 minutes to complete each section, and you have to work fast, but you also have to, you know, be accurate and to produce like a well-designed and finished product at the end. But for me, I took the practical exam twice, and that's because the first time I made a huge mistake. Looking back on it, I think I was just super nervous because, you know, it was my first time to do this exam and everything. But for the shampooing part, I forgot one of the steps, which was to lay a towel over the model's face while you shampoo their hair. And I just went in and started shampooing her hair without even laying the towel down. And right as I realized my mistake, I like looked up and locked eyes with one of the evaluators. So yeah, that was my biggest mistake, and I think that's what cost me the initial pass because I was only short 1 point when I got my score back for the practicals. After that, I took the practical exam one more time and I passed, and yeah, I got my license and everything. So for both the written and practical exam, the way that you sign up for those is online through the website QNet, and you will need to know some Korean to navigate this website, but with my academy, the mentors there, they kind of signed me up for those tests. So if you are going to an academy to learn these things, definitely ask someone there if they can help you with that process. And also, once you pass the written and the practical exam, your certification of becoming a hairdresser in Korea will also be uploaded onto that website. So you can download it and print it out. So I will show you my certification that I got. It just kind of says, the 자격증, which is a certification. And once you get the 자격증, you can go to your local city hall office and apply to get your actual license, which is the 면허증. So I will show you my license as well now. Just covering up some things, but yeah. So those are the steps to become a hairdresser. Now let me give you some tips on how to do the exam maybe a little bit better, or to, not waste a bunch of time researching into all of that. So the very first thing I highly recommend is do your research and find a good beauty school or beauty academy to attend. Don't be like me and just be like, oh, well, this one's close to where I live and it's more convenient, and oh, it looks so sleek and nice and professional. No. Go through a bunch of schools and get consultations at each one. My mistake was that my very first school that I had a consultation at, they were offering me a lower price if I signed a contract to go to that school right then and there. So don't be swayed by that, because honestly, if you're gonna do this process, it's better to invest in a proper school anyways and look at who the teachers are, because sometimes the teachers are not very qualified and you really want teachers who can actually teach you well and properly. A teacher makes all the difference, so definitely find the right school for you. The second tip I have is for the written exam, and I really suggest going on YouTube to find kind of almost explanations of a lot of the concepts to kind of dumb it down and make it easier to understand. And then for the practical exam, my number one tip is to practice, practice, practice. Like with any skill or technique, for a lot of people, they kind of think, oh, hairdressing is easy and all of that, but really it's not, and you have to take the time to get the muscle memory into your hands and your body position and all of that to really, get those things into your skill set. So for me, I practice a whole bunch, and by the way, throughout this whole process, and even today and throughout all these past years of my journey, I have still had a full-time English teaching job here in Korea to, pay the bills and everything. So if I am able to set aside time to practice and to, do all these other things while having a full-time job, I think, most people can definitely do it. You just need to set aside the time, and if you're passionate about it, it should be pretty easy to set the time to do that. So yeah, for the practical exam, make sure to practice a bunch and do it with a timer for sure, because once you're in that exam, the clock will be running, and if you aren't used to looking at the time and evaluating how much time to manage, then you probably won't do well in your exam. Okay, so that's pretty much it just to get licensed in Korea. Now, the very last thing I want to talk about is what to do after the fact, because with just a license, you can't really do much unless you want to just jump right into working as a staff member in a hair salon, which I don't really recommend, because a lot of times they don't have the proper, resources and the time to teach you properly. So my advice is, Once you pass your exams, once you're licensed, go to a hair school again, but this time you want to sign up for a 연구반, which is kind of like learning the proper techniques to actually work in a hair salon environment, but it's going to be done more like with the theory and also just on mannequin head, so you can kind of practice everything. And then after that process, you can sign up for a Salonban or like a 실무반. So what that is that you can actually practice on real life people, and they're going to be real clients coming in. It's just because since you're in an academy and a learning environment, the clients are going to be paying a lot less than what they would usually do at a regular hair salon. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. You get to learn and practice on real people, but those clients can get a cheaper, service as well. If you want to get education, do it at a proper school. Don't just, go and work at a random salon first off, because they probably won't teach you very well. And lastly is make sure you are having fun, because I feel like this is one of those jobs that is very physically and mentally tiring. So if you're not, really enjoying it, if you're not super passionate about it, then it's not worth it. So yeah, that's kind of been my journey for how to become a licensed hairdresser and all of that in Korea. If you have any questions about the process, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I will answer any of your questions for you. I hope you all learned a lot from this video. I hope that it was helpful in some way, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!